My name is Ludumo Magangane, and I am a resident of Springs. Grew up in Kwatema, but attended school in a farm school outside for my primary school, that is, up until the then national examination of Standard 6, which is no longer there now. Then I went to Pulong Secondary School in a building that is no longer there, so it looks like I'm too old. Things that I've been involved in are no longer there. The first building was the one next to the current Kenneth Masikela Secondary School. And so at that time, it was only Tlakula High School which had matric. Pulong Secondary School went up to JC, Junior Certificate, which again is no longer there. So after passing junior certificate at Pulong Secondary School, I then went to Tlakula, did my then Form 4 and Form 5, which is an equivalent of the current grade 11, grade 12. So I then went to study at the University of Zululand. Firstly registered for a new degree then, which was called Bachelor of Pedagogics, which was to train teachers in various fields. But whilst I was still there, I think in my second year, then the music degree was introduced, and I flipped completely and started the new degree. Then it was introduced and passed and did teaching. So I was destined to teach, I think. Whilst completing my degree at the University of Zululand, I then formed the Kwatema Youth Choir, which at that time was comprised of students from Pulong Secondary School and Tlakula High School, because those were the only two post-primary schools at that time. So I started teaching at Kenneth Masikela Secondary School in 1981, teaching mathematics and offering school guidance and counseling, which I headed later on, became head of department for school guidance and counseling. I also became a choir conductor for the school. In fact, my arrival meant that whoever was in charge of the school choir just said, wow, now I've got somebody who can handle this thing better than I was doing. He unfortunately has passed away now. So I worked at Kenneth Masikela Secondary School from 1981 until 1993 in March. Left on promotion as a Deputy Chief Education Specialist to the Alberton, well at that time it was Alberton area office, because it was just at the end of the previous dispensation in the country, and the new was going to start the following year in 1994. So it was area office, then the following year it became a district office because things were changing. And I left the education department completely in 1996 and concentrated on the music. Because in music I was adjudicating all kinds of choir competitions, conducting workshops, doing transcriptions from what is called either tonic solfa notation to staff notation, or the other way around. Also started adjudicating internationally from 2002. A competition which is called the World Choir Games, which has taken me around the world several times. Yeah, and then locally we also started what was called the Mest Choir Festival, which started in 1989. There we would invite choirs from around what is now Gauteng. At that time when we started, it was the PWV. Yeah, that tells how long I've been around. Now we would have a massed choir of about 1,000 voices with an orchestra, mostly professional, but we would have cadets who joined just to gain some experience as well in playing. And then we would audition, although we started auditioning much later, we would audition people who wanted to be soloists for the festival. Sopranos or mezzo-sopranos or tenors, baritones or basses. We worked with that one from that time until 2009 when we ran out of sponsorship. By that time I was a music director of the festival, because when I came in I was just assisting the two music directors, Professor Mzilikazi Khumalo and Richard Cock. But later on Professor Khumalo left off, so I took his place as music director, and then later on I was joined by Mokale Kwapin. I also adjudicated in one of the major local competitions, which is the National Choir Festival. Currently people call it the Old Mutual Choir Festival because it's sponsored by Old Mutual. But it has had several sponsors. The first sponsor was the Ford Motor Company. And then there was Caltex and various others until the latest one. So I'm a freelance musician now. As I said, I've been to all kinds of places within Africa. I've been to Namibia. Usually we forget Lesotho and Swaziland, but I've been there as well. Been to Malawi several times. I've been to Tanzania. I think locally, but then various other continents, because I've been to the East, I've been to the US in Cincinnati. I haven't traveled to the US a lot as I've traveled to Europe. That's my work in terms of what I do when I've got spare time, which doesn't exist in my life. God blessed me with a lady who's my wife, and we were blessed with twins and a girl who's the only one out of the three who's followed me into music. But what is interesting is when we were asking her when she was at high school what she was going to do, she wasn't quite sure. In fact, right up until we got her to UCT physically. But she said, if I do music, it won't be your music, meaning she won't follow my type of music. As a result, she studied vocal jazz and has had her first major performance on the 8th of September. So we're hoping that she'll be continuing to work until at least her name is known by a few people more than who know her now. Perform, well, I've performed in the sense that I've conducted people all the time. I've never performed on my own. I've mainly worked with choirs, but several times I've worked with choirs and orchestras. And amateur orchestras and even professional orchestras. So again, within the country, I think I've conducted in many places except the Northern Cape. I don't know why. Yeah.
So when you said that when you went to varsity, the first year you did the Bachelor of Pedagogy, and in the second year you swapped to music. Was that a scary choice for you to make? I mean, how did your parents and everyone react to it?
As for the choice, it wasn't scary. It actually seemed natural. And to an extent that I thought, okay, my parents will understand. So when I got back home and told them, hey, guess what? Music is being introduced next year and I think I want to do that. And he said, okay, and then what are you going to do after getting a degree? And I couldn't answer that question because there was nobody I knew, black, who had done a degree in music. So I went ahead anyway. And I think what helped was for me to then, after the degree, to do a secondary teacher's diploma, just to make sure that if it fails, I'll be a teacher. I already had mathematics and what else? And zoology. So I thought, okay, and English. So I thought, if things don't go according to my plan, then I'll follow the other plan of just going to high school and then teach these three. But then when I finished, in spite of our having lost a year in 1976, but continued to finish that. So I was very active in conducting choirs, and that's what helped maybe to let people be aware that there's a young music graduate, because for quite some time I was almost the only one my age and black. So when people were told, now we're going to have an adjudicator from Kwatema, his name is Ludumo Magangane, they were expecting a big man. Then when I would appear, they would say, oh, okay, so you are Mr. Magangane. I started adjudicating in what at that time was called KwaZulu. We know that the Natal part was the white part. And then, so that's where I cut my teeth. The National Association of, what is this? Anyway, NATU. Yeah, National Association of Teachers, whatever. Anyway, I forgot what the acronym means. The minute they got to know that there's a music department at the University of Zulu, and then they thought, okay, our days of hunting for adjudicators are over. We'll just ask Professor Ngoma to give us 2, 3, 4, whatever adjudicators.